It's a long, well, it's pretty long. Probably take 3 minutes to read it, I guess, maybe more.
Greg, this is from about 20 years ago. Tom, can you put the Lenovo on the screen?
Well, we're about to go on here.
Well, I don't think you'd want this on the air.
So,
Tom, can you put the Lenovo on the screen?
we're
Lenovo.
on. We're on.
Oh, we're
ahead,
on.
clap.
Okay.
You have to do the clapboard thing?
Yeah, that's what I thought. You want me to do the clapboard, Tom?
It's what you usually do, right?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
He's a real good director, huh?
He is good at directing.
Okay, the clock is moving. The light is on.
Okay.
You ready, Paula?
Yeah. Hi. This is Paula, and this is the Common Book Show. Today we have our crew is Richard, Greg, Brian, Tony, and of course my son Tom on drums. I lost a sister last week, and none of my family, except my nephew Danny, perhaps watches this show. I wrote this short story quite a few years ago, using my sister as a character. The name of the short story is called Darlene. Oh, this is the Common Book Show. Did I say that already? Anyway, I thought I would read this in tribute to my sister. Not that it makes her look so great, but it is a good description of her. She had mental illness, and she had some personality disorder. And she didn't have a lot of reasoning power, but she was interesting, okay? So this is called Darlene, written about my sister Marie. Darlene has taken to dressing like a country and western singer. Tight jeans belted at the waist, with a gingham shirt tucked in tight over her new, enormous, fluffy breasts. Big, bouncy curls of bleached blonde hair and oversized dark glasses hide the fresh surgery scars on her brightened up, tightened up face. She plans to snag a husband for herself. What does a man look for in a woman? She coyly asks the middle-aged man in the room down the hall. He wants a young, fresh piece of ass, he taunts. And she believes him and tries to be younger and fresher as hard as she can. She sets her coffee cup on the vanity next to the tubes of makeup and the fashion mistakes in her bedroom off the hall. She is well acquainted with the dark side of 50. Denim is so youthful, she exclaims when seeing it out a woman 20 years her junior. So she skips out to Kmart for a pair of fashion jeans in which to tuck her Tanya Tucker butt. Are my thighs too big? She fishes as she faces her butt to the mirror, turning her head like an owl to view her behind. No, you look like a starvation victim in a life jacket, I drolly offer through a mouthful of fat-free pound cake. My feet are dangling off her bed. My coffee grows cold in the chipped mug on the French provincial bureau. She has not given the mirror a rest. If you open your eyes wide and you smile, it gives you a nice, youthful look, she says while sipping her fourth cup of hot black coffee. I reflect on the fact that with her eyes screwed open like that, she looks like a blonde from Gamma 5 on an old Star Trek episode. I let that observation slide as I gape at her fascination. We live in a cheap rooming house, decorated with a collection of dollar store kitsch. Most of the place is covered by a brown marbled shag rug worn threadbare, as painful to the eyes as it is to the feet. But at least you can't see the coffee stains. My door is directly opposite Darlene's. We share the bathroom and the kitchen down the hall with the others who seem relatively normal in their formal greetings of good morning and good evening as they pour their coffee from the communal party-sized pot. Nothing there to explore, unlike the likes of Darlene. Darlene has a framed photo of Jesus himself over her bureau. How they photographed Jesus, I have not yet figured out, but it's definitely him, according to Darlene. If there were an electrical outlet nearby, she would plug in this icon so everyone could see his eyeballs light up like the ever-ready flashlights illuminating the way to salvation. Jesus promised Darlene a rich and powerful husband once she became the best that she could be. He tells her everything. She admits she is the Lord's confessor. Darlene has more insight than ordinary mortals. She's a prophet. She writes personal letters to the Pope, asking him to send down an edict declaring in his infallible way that priests be allowed to marry. What does a man look for in a woman? She questions the priest at her parish while batting her painted and peacock blue eyes. He tells her to cultivate her mind. She comes home with arms full of magazines, People, Ladies' Home Journal, Cosmopolitan, and Glamour. When I come into the house, she accosts me with the information on the president's personal life or on the conspiracy theories on Princess Di's death. She asks me whose legs I find more attractive, Monica Lewinsky or Paula Jones, while she pushes the picture with both hands into my face. She has already formulated her opinion based on hours of weighing the choices, out loud, of course. I wear a Walkman most days. Darlene does not aim low. She has her eyes on the bishop. In fact, she says the Lord has promised him to her. Darlene has passed this information along to her prospective beau. She says that he was not alarmed. He is more Christ-like than wise, I thought. She invokes her bishop by his first Christian name. I went to midnight mass on Christmas Eve dressed like Evita, red lipstick, a flashy purple dress, sexy but not revealing, and my new fake fur mink coat. How did the bishop react, I ask. Darlene laughed and reported he was so nervous. When I walked up to him, he just skittered away like a scared adolescent boy. He's so charming. I think I make him nervous. I'll bet you do, was my only response. Darlene is distressed when people think she's crazy. I'm not crazy, just different, she says as she sits cross-legged on her bed with her 5th cup of hot coffee. And who am I to argue? But Darlene cries a lot. She talks to herself and answers, sometimes in another voice. When confronted with this information, she explains that it's the voice of God. I'm not crazy, just different, she says to the paramedic as he escorts her gently to the ambulance, a blood-soaked kitchen towel wrapped around her wrists, bandaging shallow slices made with her rosary crucifix. Her hair is perfect. Her lipstick traces her lips like a child's first perfect coloring page, and her breasts bounce with deliberate gait. Her coffee travel mug is filled and screwed up tight. What does a man look for in a woman? She asked the young man in her best Evita-like voice. That's my sister Marie.
Extremely well written.
Man, that's wild.
Yeah, I didn't really read it all the way through. I guess it's dated with the Princess Di thing and the Monica Lewinsky and so and the Walkman. Oh my God, when was the last time you used
Well, it's about the 90s.
Yeah, it was in. So she was not playing with the full deck, but she liked the cards that she had. She thought it was a full deck, and she was happy with it. So.
I guess it just kind of crashed down harder for a moment for me there, like, the end of the story, when she attempted.
Well, what I'm trying to say with that is that she's ready. She's ready to be picked up by the ambulance. She's got her coffee mug. She's already got her coffee in her coffee mug, and it's screwed up. She's got her lipstick on perfectly. She's, her hair looks great. She did it, and there's shallow cuts if you think about a crucifix and how they wouldn't be that deep, right? Because it's not really a weapon. So what I'm trying to say by that is that it's a cry for attention.
A cry for help.
yeah, a cry for help, but more attention. You know, that she's looking for someone to, you know, rescue her or make her feel desirable, you
Well,
know.
she wants attention from men or a man.
Men. Oh yeah, my sister spent her whole life defining herself by the men that she was with, and she couldn't. I mean, she was a lot older than me, so she came from that generation before. Like I'm really a child of the 60s and 70s, and she's a child of the 50s. You know, she was born in the 40s. You know, so she's got that mentality of a woman is not. What was I listening to the other day that said something about a woman has no value without a man? But that was like what she thought. There was some movie I had on.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it was.
Do Yourself Relationships by James Walker?
Yeah, that was it. So that was my sister. I don't write a lot of fiction because I don't know why, but
That's pretty darn cool.
Well, it's thinly veiled, right? It's actually.
yeah, I mean
You
it's.
could have just put her name in there and it would have been.
But I mean, this stuff didn't happen. I never lived in a rooming house with
No,
her.
no
You know,
rooming house,
so it's
no.
just her as a character, and her. She did actually ask men all the time, what does a man look for in a woman, you know? And she would try to.
Did she hit on the bishop?
Oh, she was to send the bishop pictures of herself in lingerie.
Really?
And
Wow.
and romantic music mixtapes.
Oh boy.
But she wasn't the only one. There were a whole group of women who used to sit in the front row, and they were all in love with with Bishop Manzel. You know, they were in love with him, and now he's
no
in
kidding.
New England somewhere. Yeah, so they were all competing. This whole line of women. But my sister was mentally ill, so she claims that he told her that, you know, he was interested in her, but he couldn't do anything because of the, you know, the priests can't be in romantic relationships. And if he did tell her that, I think he was just trying to let her down easy. But she really believed that if she could get the Pope to change that law, that he would definitely marry her.
It makes sense because the Pope talks to God.
Oh, and then when my stepfather John died, she tried to convince my mother that the Pope was the right man for her. Yeah. They were kind of two peas in a pod, those two. There was a instance where my mother had a crush on this man who was about, you know, he was a few years younger than her, so she didn't want him to know how old she was. She invited him to dinner. And my sister, Marie, who was also very flirtatious and sexually active. So the man comes over to dinner. I'm downstairs he was maybe 75. Maybe my mother was 80, and my sister was. I'm trying to remember how this went, but my sister's 10 years or 13 years older than me. So they were both flirting with this guy. He'd come to dinner. He was a total dick. I'll tell you, he was not a nice person. He was, a womanizing shit. And I could tell just by talking to him for 2 minutes. And they were both like, like, oh, would you like some more coffee? Would you like some more tea? And they were like chirping like birds around this guy, and he was a horrible human being. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching all of this, and he starts hitting on me.
Wow.
Whoa.
And I'm like, I am not interested. You know, I have.
So he was at least 20 years older than you or so? or
No,
something?
well, he was probably. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what the age thing was, but he was older than me. But it wasn't the age thing. He was a sleazebag.
Right.
As a matter of fact, my mother ended up going over to his house. That he was having a poker party. All these guys were over at his house, and she went to his house, and he put on some porn. Well, my mother was there, and all these men were there, and my mother told me about it, and I said, Mom, why didn't you leave? And she says, I don't want him not to like me.
Oh, boy.
And I was like, this is just great. Who's the adult here? Anyway, that was my. Did you make a list before we came? You said you were going to make a list.
I didn't get around to it.
Didn't make a list, didn't check it twice either.
Didn't check it twice. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's enough about my sister. But she did pass away. My family's coming in this week, and we're gonna memorialize her. I don't know. We can't tell any of the stories though because it's totally inappropriate stories. But I don't know. Maybe somebody will loosen up. But they're very Christian, that side of the family. So I don't think that's going to happen. So I know you have a list. What's on your list?
I wanted to ask Greg if he recognizes this person. Do you recognize either of these people?
No. Where are they?
I don't think you can show this video,
Oh,
Richard.
Well, I'm not going to show.
So it's just
Well, why can't I show it
To the
anyway?
Voodoo Dolly people? The band?
Yeah, I think
There are
that.
two people who came over here. Now, are they in the Voodoo Dollies?
Yeah, I think they are.
That's what, I mean, she got the shirt on and it says Voodoo Dolly.
I didn't know if that meant she was a fan or if she was in the band.
No, they're both
I
in
think
the
they're in the
band.
band.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do know them.
No, I don't know them. I mean, I'm just saying, if she didn't have a Voodoo Dolly shirt on, I wouldn't have known what to say about them at all. Except the Voodoo Dollies came on the show. I remember that,
Yeah.
and it must have been them.
So I must have met them through you.
I
And then
guess.
they came back for the 5-minute video series.
Oh,
And that's where this video is from.
okay.
This is so cool. You actually got Debbie Harry. Oh man, I gotta meet her.
She looks a little bit like her, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She looks familiar to me.
You could tell during this interview how fragile
she
this blonde woman's mental health was.
she also seemed like she was either high or drunk.
You could see it was hard.
hit me.
It was hard to tell what
Yeah.
came first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this week, I got a Facebook message out of the blue, and I'm trying to figure out now who is this woman. Like you got to be talking maybe 20, 25 years ago. I did this 5-minute video series thing.
Yeah. Was it that long ago? Wow.
So she says, and Tom, can you put on the Lenovo? She says, "Thank you very much. I love your work so much." I'm wondering, who is this? But since I don't drive, I feel so embarrassed when contacting Buffalo artists. So when I moved back to Buffalo in 2008, I planted myself in the heart of Allentown, but still feel ashamed of my lack of commute and social anxiety. Even though my meetings with you were brief in the grand scheme of things, I felt very comfortable around you and your environment, and as a person with PTSD who wants to still live and be the natural bohemians we are, I thank you so much for that to this day. That came in on Thursday. Now, imagine me
This Thursday?
racking my brain. Who is
How
this?
did you make the connection?
I started checking all of my notes on my computer with the name Kelly attached.
Really? Wow.
That's where I found that video.
Wow.
I didn't know her last name was Flagg. Well, I wasn't even introduced to her as Kelly Flagg. I was
Yeah.
introduced to her by her stage name,
Which I don't.
J.A.I.
Yeah. That was that band. I remember that band. I think.
I think I've met her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible.
Like
She
back
was-
in the 80s or something.
I don't even think she.
Isn't
Well,
wasn't
that
it
was an
long
old.
ago?
That was an old video. So yeah, she.
Or,
Yeah, that would probably be around the time that they were playing.
yeah.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long has it been since you've seen that band, Greg?
I never saw them, as far as I know.
He used to just contact bands that were in the Gusto,
Oh,
and say, would you want to come on the show?
I
So you started doing that sometime in the middle of when I knew you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was working out great. Everybody wanted to come on.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
It was a freak show.
But people and bands wanted to come on the show because they wanted to, you
yeah,
know,
it was nice. There was a
Exposure.
lot of interesting guests.
yeah. So that was
The Machba people, I remember.
Yeah, Machba, they walked out without saying goodbye.
they didn't know what to expect. I expect.
Does anybody have any thoughts on the Parkland shooting verdict?
Oh, down in Florida, kid got death row.
Yeah.
Did he? No, he didn't get death row. He got life imprisonment without parole.
Okay,
Well,
my cousin was telling me the other day.
Well, that was what they were
death
voting
penalty.
on. The jury voted, should he get death or life imprisonment? And the defense attorney said, if only one of you, just one of you, decides that he is not responsible for the shooting because of what his mother did when she was pregnant, you must vote your conscience and put him in life imprisonment.
He really said that?
Yeah.
Well,
It's the Charles Darwin defense.
Richard, how do you
Right.
feel about the death penalty?
Well, that's what I liked about this. I had never seen the Charles Darwin defense put into practice,
Right.
Yeah.
which is essentially A murders B, right?
Yeah.
And you're defending A. So what you do is you say, look, jury, it's not so much that A did this. It's the environment that A was raised in. It's the parents that A had, right? It's the economic conditions that A had to face. right?
Nature, nurture.
Yeah, you argue nurture.
Yes.
But in this case, they argued because his mother drank so much liquor
Oh, fetal
when he
alcohol
was-
syndrome?
that it went and infected his brain.
Right. It's possible.
I mean, but what was his childhood? I didn't want. I mean, I did see part of the sentencing thing when they were going over and over, like this count one, there were 17 or something, right? So 1, 2, and I couldn't get past like 5. It just got too boring. But all of them were the same. They had like 1 or 2 people who were against the death penalty. But I, for one, I don't like the idea of the death penalty. I mean, but if somebody killed my daughter, would I feel the same way?
Well, that was how this whole thing came up in my life. We were talking about the upcoming Buffalo Bills game, and I said to my friend, "Do you think the Bills will be motivated by revenge?" And he said, "Don't say that." I said, "Well, what's wrong with being motivated by revenge?" "Don't say that. Revenge is such a horrible thing that nobody should allow into their life."
What?
So as we talked about it more and more, he said that his teenage daughter was raped, and they caught the guy. And my friend had to endure all these feelings of revenge. Like, if this guy gets off, I'm going after him, you know what I mean? Planning it, etc. And he went to a therapist, my friend did, and the therapist said, it's going to eat you alive. You gotta heal yourself by giving up this whole revenge thing, which he did.
Yeah.
But it left that imprint on his mind. And there's a thing about revenge hurting you.
Right.
So when I mentioned this football game, it pushed his button.
Yeah,
Don't
Right.
mention revenge. Don't mention.
Right,
So
right.
the day after the verdict comes out, and the members of the family were all on the news. The justice system has failed us by giving him life in prison. I can't believe that the justice system is so inept, you know. And I said, do you agree with the family? Because they obviously are having feelings of revenge.
Yeah.
See, I don't agree with the revenge, killing someone with a death penalty for revenge. Like, okay, you killed X amount of people, now we're going to kill you. But my thing is, okay, he's locked up supposedly without hope of parole.
Right.
But what if he did escape? What if somebody like that
Yeah,
you
in a
know,
maximum
did escape?
in a maximum security prison like that,
It's happened. It's
I know,
happened.
but the chances
It's
are
happened.
so.
Yeah, the chances are very slim, but what if it happened and he got out and he killed a bunch more people? So is it actually more, I don't know what the word would be, better to put him to death so there is no chance that he's ever going to kill anyone else? Because what if he did get out and then say he killed somebody in your family or
Yeah,
somebody,
well,
one of your friends'
see-
family, and then people said, "Oh, see what happened?
This
If
is-
we would have
yeah.
just put him to death, he wouldn't
But
have killed all these other people."
It's tricky. I mean, while he's in
It's not likely, I
While
admit,
he's in prison, if our prison system worked, not that it was going to help him get out, because if it's
Right.
without parole, he won't. He should be subject to intensive therapy, and
Right.
and talk therapy and medical and whatever he has. I don't know if he's got a condition that he needs to take medicine for, but that should be part of his being in prison. I mean, and if he does become a better person. I'm not saying that they should let him out, but he might be able to help some other people in this prison system. You know, and that to me, I think is more a healthier use of a person like that than just putting him to death. I
agree with that.
I don't really want to see us doing that. I think it's a brutal. Yes, he's an asshole. I mean, I'm not sticking up for him. You know, he's a bad person. He did bad things. He hurt people. He
Right.
killed their children. But like I said, if it was me, I don't know if I could be so open-minded and think, well, maybe he can do. But that's the thing about forgiveness. Forgiveness. If you hold onto anger and you don't. You let go of that anger, no matter who it's against. The only person, it doesn't hurt that person. That person doesn't give a flying fuck if you hate them, and you know, they don't care. The only person it hurts is you.
Yeah, I
And
guess to
it's the
agree.
only thing the only thing you can do is control the way you feel about, you know, and that's why when people, it scares me a little bit when people are that ready, like somebody gets killed and like the next couple days you hear, I forgive the because I think it's something you have to work through. I don't think it's something, unless you're
Well,
really.
that's usually extremely Christian people that go, I forgive them. It's
Yeah.
like a week or two later and they go,
You know,
oh,
and
I've
you
forgiven him.
You can forgive
Just
people.
boom, boom.
You can forgive people without allowing them in your life. I mean, you don't have to open up your arms to the person that killed someone in your family, but it's not going to hurt anybody. It's not going to hurt that person. Chances are the person that killed, like this guy, he doesn't have the same conscience like a regular person would have. It's not going to hurt him. You know, it's only going to hurt you. So your friend who went through that whole process, the therapist was right. You know, that's what you have to do. You have to let go of it, even no matter how hard it is.
I can concur to a degree. I mean, like I said, I got my own therapist in the bag here. Don't worry, I left him very much as I found him. No, you'll hear this from me all the time because I despise Casey Anthony more than anyone on the face of the earth, and I know I got to the point where, honestly, I won't screw with you. I wanted to kill her so badly I could fucking taste it.
Yeah.
I put her in a cornfield instead.
Yeah, well, that's a better way to deal with it, I think. I mean, using it for your art, I don't see it.
I instead took and I'm making a story, a book, like a graphic novel, which basically it's basically goes after people like her and Susan Smith, etc. There is a superhero that Not just basically a couple of justice killers, one flesh and blood guy
Yeah.
with two very warped alters.
Yeah.
All three of them make a very formidable team. But I had to make art or I'd be in prison.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah, well, that's a better way of dealing with it. I think
And revenge would have landed me in prison, believe me.
all the religions. I mean, one of the things that they have in common is this idea of forgiveness and turning. You know, of course, it can be argued because religions have done so much harm. You know, but I'm saying the real tenets of the people who started them, the Jesuses and the Mohammeds, they had the right idea. It just got changed by all the people who messed with it.
Do you know about Eva Kor, K-O-R?
Mm-mm.
When she was a little kid, her and her mother got taken to a concentration camp. Mm-hmm. Mother got killed. She survived. She was liberated when the camps were liberated. In the 1980s, she discovered she had a knack for public speaking. Mm-hmm. She went on a public speaking tour. It is time for all Jews to forgive the Hitler and to forgive the Nazis and forgive Dr. Mengele and all the people involved in the concentration camp system so we can heal ourselves. Every place she spoke at, there were protesters.
Oh yeah.
She got booed and yelled at.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that was some guts, though. That took guts.
It took guts, but it
But
shows the controversy.
She was right.
Isn't it? Like, would you have been one of the protesters, or would you went in and listened and applauded?
She was at a higher level of being evolved. You know, she's more evolved, I think. I don't mean technically evolved. I mean, she's worked on it herself, and she's come to this decision, and so she feels that it was so helpful for her that she probably wants other people to experience it. But I can see, I mean, I don't know. I mean, can
So
we
I think
forgive,
it's a matter of degrees. It's like, yeah, I
can we
believe
forgive
in...
can we forgive Hitler? You know,
Well, this is what I'm going to talk about. Richard was talking about this woman whose mother was killed in the concentration camp. Now, I think it's a matter, like you could say it's a matter of degrees. Like the one father in Parkland said, okay, he killed 17 children, so you're just going to lock him up for life. That's what you're going to do. And maybe he had revenge in mind. I don't know, because I can't read his mind. But look at Hitler and all the trials after World War II. What did they do to all the ones that organized it? They hung them all because they killed millions of people. Now, should they have just locked them up in a prison? Maybe somebody would have broken them out, or they would have gotten out. Now, somebody that kills, I'm not just talking about one person, but kills dozens of people,
Yeah.
shouldn't that be approached in a different way?
I would have
Because
liked
that person
to have
is
studied someone like that.
extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous.
yeah.
Are you even going to take a risk that they might get out, or that some parole board down like 20 years from now would say, oh, we're going to give him a break. He's been going to therapy. He's better now. And I agreed with you before when you said...
they shouldn't. They should never let him out. I mean, once that
right,
comes down
but-
the pike, he should never get out.
So then what is he doing in prison then? He's getting therapy. He's getting, art therapy and everything.
Maybe he could.
And like, is
right.
he going to be a better person?
No, but maybe
it doesn't
he
matter.
could-
He's never getting out.
But maybe he could help some of the other prisoners who are going to get out to
Do you
deal
think,
with their
though, really,
issues.
realistically?
I don't know, but
I mean,
I'm
that's
saying.
what I'm saying.
I think as humans, we need to evolve past this idea that we are going to kill people because they've killed people,
Right.
and I don't. I don't.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
I don't believe in it, but I can't say for a positive
what you're saying.
fact that if somebody I loved was killed, that it wouldn't boil my blood and I wouldn't be standing there with
Right.
the noose. I can't. I can be distant from this now because I've never had it happen. Knock on wood.
But my next philosophical question is, can human beings transcend killing each other? Is that ever going to happen? Or is it part of our nature?
Unfortunately, I think it is part of our nature.
A lot of people think that.
Yeah,
Making war is one of the things we seem to have been good at since time immemorial.
yeah, it was
and
war
we-
season. They called it war season.
And with the Nazis,
Right, spring.
but with the Nazis, okay, that's a different ball of wax than say one kid, okay, because I think incarcerating, say, these folks from like the Schutzstaffel, etc., the Third Reich, and all. You got to remember that was a mob mentality,
Right.
brought on by a select group of total madmen.
Right,
So I
right.
would love to study a few of these people and really get in their heads to find out where they got this whole thing going, how they decided to get on this bandwagon, how were they able to compartmentalize their lives completely, freezing, say, twins to death in a refrigerator and going home to dinner with their wife and kids.
Well, Richard, what was that study that we talked about the one time about the people who were watching, were in control of pushing buttons and giving them shock?
The Milgram experiment, Stanley Milgram.
Talk to me.
And it was it turns out that a very large percentage of the people that were watching other people suffer.
And they weren't really being shocked,
Right,
but they thought they were.
They really weren't being shocked.
They thought they were.
The people on the other side of the window, they really weren't getting shocked. They just they were testing to see if the people on this side of the window would stop shocking them if they saw that they were suffering. And because these people on this side of the window were told that no matter what, they had to press that button and they had to give them the shock. I forgot what they were doing.
Well, the key is they were told by someone in authority
An authority,
to
right?
do it.
And they
so most
person
people will not
standing there,
question it.
right? Standing there with a
Yeah.
clipboard, but there were a few people who said
Yes.
no, and those are the people I believe have evolved to a point. I used to get in arguments all the time with my
Okay.
professors, when I was taking when I was in the archaeology program. They would tell me the mind stopped evolving, and I would say, no, it hasn't. Our mind is still evolving. Not only is our mind evolving, but it's getting to the point where we can take in more and more information. I mean, you take a guy from from 1019, and you bring him here, and you try to force feed him all the information that we have, his mind will explode. We've evolved, and our brains are getting stronger and bigger, and so there may come a point when we can evolve past that, but I also had this idea that we had to get rid of all of the people who weren't evolving.
You mean kill them?
No, that
What do you do?
there'd be an apocalypse of some kind
Okay, I'm just-
where they would
Sorry,
get like COVID, like the stupid people who didn't get vaccinated, they would just die. Well, it didn't work. I was
Me and my cousin's still alive.
I was thinking, oh my God, my plan is is working.
It's coming to fruition. Yeah.
All the stupid people are going to die, but it didn't work.
I
that
heard
way.
other people kind of say that along those lines too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
When you put it country simple, people don't ever really stop pulling the wings off flies. It's just they get older, they think of better reasons for doing it.
I think that as a little kid, you don't realize your actions are harmful. I mean, you have to be taught. That's it. You have to be taught. If you're pulling the wings off of flies, and somebody says to you, "Oh, great. Do that some more. Here's some more flies." You're never gonna. But if somebody says to you, "Oh, that poor fly, he was probably trying to get home to be with his family, and you took his wings off, and now he can't get back," But you have to be conscious that this is not. I think that you can learn empathy. I think that empathy. You're not born with empathy. I think you can learn it.
I was using that as a metaphor, basically in conjunction with, do you think we could ever transcend and stop killing? Whereas I believed it just seems to be an intrinsic part of our nature, primal. That's what I meant.
I know, right? But I was just taking that metaphor and using it for the example. But I think that we're more likely to have less violence if our kids weren't being raised by violent people.
right.
And I don't know how that works.
It's rough. I mean, let's face it, it's very rough when you get a Trump in office and the guy initiates every possible thing that's inhuman about being human.
Right, and then that's the example, and that's why there was so much hate crimes and so much prejudice, and people were not afraid to say it anymore. Because I'd rather have people be afraid to say it. I mean, people, they brought it out to the surface, but man, that was maybe if people have to repress those feelings and those emotions, maybe their emotions will change over time. But if they're just let them all fly like that, they normalize it. He normalized it. He
That's better,
normalized
yeah.
all of that behavior.
I spent the better part of a year with a Trumpist as a co-driver at Covenant Transport. And I'll tell you, I got to the point where I just wanted to bail out the jump seat.
Throw them out of the truck.
I was looking to just bail out.
You were gonna jump out?
Hopefully impale myself on a friggin' rusty piece of metal coming out of the ground
Just to
in Arizona or something.
shut them up. Yeah, you don't have to hear it.
Yeah.
No, I like what you were saying. It's like I like to think that we are evolving and maybe getting smarter or better or whatever you want to say. But sometimes I have my doubts. I have a lot of doubt.
And the other thing
So-
is that people who are kind and who are empathetic, the other people who aren't, they use that as, like, oh, empathetic and kind people aren't weak.
No.
Right.
But it's, that's what Trump would say. Oh, he's a pussy. I mean, and that's how
Yeah.
anybody with a conscience or a brain was being treated.
That was my co-driver.
It's your code.
Seriously. He was like, he's a Jersey man's man,
Right.
Yeah. But speaking of this, I'd like to just take a moment to use this to retract something from last week's show. I do not any longer wish for my cousin to be trampled in his willing forays into Black Friday, although I still believe he's kind of an idiot for doing it. But, he's Trumpist.
Yeah.
No, what I would sooner have is Black Friday abolished.
Right.
So nobody gets trampled.
Yeah.
Trampled.
Trumpled is a good word.
Trumpled. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I like that word. I think that we have some use for that word, trumpled.
Okay. Wow, I started a trend. Dang.
Actually, I just saw, Tony, a few days ago that there are a few major retailers that are not doing Black Friday this year.
All right.
They're just opting out because, for a lot of reasons. But, so,
Great.
yeah.
Paula,
Yeah. Yes. Would you like to say something?
I bow down to you on Sunday and salute you when your birthday comes, which is Monday.
There was just a lyric in one of the songs we were listening to. What was that? Was that the Bob Dylan thing we were listening
Yeah,
to?
Bob Dylan, yeah.
Salute you on your birthday. Thank you.
Your
My birthday is
birthday week is coming up starting
is it?
Monday.
It's
is
Monday?
Tomorrow.
My birthday's Monday.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
happy birthday early.
Thank you. I do like my birthday week.
I got our new gynecologist.
What's that?
I got our new gynecologist for her birthday.
Oh, awesome.
Wow.
It's always good to be fresh.
I think so.
and free.
And fluffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're probably gonna. Well, I have to babysit on my birthday, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But we're going to celebrate on Tuesday.
On Tuesday,
then.
we're gonna celebrate on Tuesday. We're gonna hang out.
Tuesday.
Afternoon. Boom, 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 boom. I'm just beginning to wait. And I call that one. Da, 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 da. Okay.
Lori got you a pea cup. Lori got her a pea cup.
No,
for her birthday.
I asked Lori. Lori wanted to know what I wanted for my birthday, and you know how in the bathroom sink you've got that thing that when the water comes out, every once in a while you got to clean it out because the water slows up and it gets clogged with crap. So it was clogged with crap, and I couldn't get the piece off. So I asked Lori if I told Greg. I said, when Lori asks what I want for my birthday, just tell her I want her to fix my sink. So she did that yesterday.
But she also gave you a
Wow.
pea cup.
But she also gave me a cup with my initial on it, yes, and a homemade card, which she's good at,
Oh, a pea cup. A cup
Okay,
with a
okay.
pea on it. I thought you meant
A pea, yeah,
cup.
yes, a
Yeah, I'm like,
specimen.
what the? This is
And with
TMI,
my really
man.
bad back, I've been sleeping with a pea receptacle in.
Well, he,
by my
it
bed,
went
so,
along. It went
yeah.
along with the new gynecologist. My specimen cup.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and Gloria
Oh,
Gloria
yeah.
gave me a bunch of really practical things, which I loved, because like bath salt and
Mm.
stuff like that. So that was great.
Bath salts? You're not doing that stuff, are you?
I'm not snorting it, if that's what you mean.
Running.
It's that's
Using them for the
you soak,
She's
right?
recommended
it.
purpose.
You
shooting
soak
it, the
you
bath
soak
salts.
in the tub. It's very
Right.
nice.
Yeah, you soak in the tub.
So, all right.
Right.
So, do you want to talk about anything in this book? Because you've been looking at this movies of the '60s, which is actually
The 70s and 80s and everything else, too.
Yeah.
I think that Antonioni was a pretentious twat. I like that
what you-
about him.
Oh, you like that about him?
I think
Okay.
Fellini was a pretentious twat. I like that about him. Kubrick, the same thing. I like pretentious twats. I don't like people who just slap these movies together, and I like the people who aim for something higher and they try to make it bigger than themselves.
Okay, I do too.
So Tarantino?
No, he's a fuck.
He's not a pretentious twat.
He's not pretentious. No,
No,
No, you don't think so?
no, I don't think he is.
He's just
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
He steals a lot of things. He mostly just steals things.
Yeah.
But I don't see any
Yeah.
pretension.
All right, so that was your contribution.
I thought it was a pretty good contribution.
That was nice. I liked it.
Yeah,
Thank
you like twat.
I like that word.
What about
I think it's
Francois
a very funny
Truffaut?
word.
Pretentious twat.
Okay, I hit one. All right. Okay.
So, what are you
400 blows.
Are you still reading the same thing you were reading last week? I'm imagining.
I picked up one more book Thursday, I think it was, and it's a really exciting book. No, it's not. It's very interesting. It's intellectual, I guess. It's about the future of AI, artificial intelligence, in human society, and I looked at it's a new book. I think it came out 2022. And one of the authors he was a professor of computing at Cornell and then MIT. So he's the real deal. He's like the head at MIT for computing. So I would imagine he really knows what he's talking about. And then there's another guy who's more of a media journalist kind of specialist. And then the third author is Henry Kissinger. And I was like, what? So he's dealing with more like how is it going to affect society in the future, but
He's got to be really old now, Henry Kissinger.
Oh, he's in his 80s.
He's
at
99.
least. 90. Is he 99?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
Man.
Yeah, I knew he was up there somewhere, but
And he's editing
He's
a book.
almost-
He was
That's
born in
pretty
23.
impressive.
okay. But there's some
He was 50 during Watergate.
pretty thorny issues in there. Some serious questions about, how this is going to change not just society, but how human beings interact with each other, and also how human beings might interact with machines when machines eventually get maybe conscious. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But there was some really cool stuff in there, like the first chapter was talking about this, I can't remember the name of the computer program or the AI program that they fed into this AI program every major chess game that's been played in competition in the last 100 years. They fed every move from every game into the computer, and not only could this computer beat any chess master in the world now after that, but these reigning chess masters, I can't remember all their names right now, the one Russian dude, they were mind blown because the computer not only was able to beat any human chess master, but it literally came up with moves and strategies that were never, ever thought of before, and that these chess masters were like...
Based on the combination that was input. That's
based on...
That's interesting.
The games. Well, I mean, things that, like, these chess masters looked at the games it was playing going, where did that even come from? Because the AI doesn't think. It's just dealing, like, it's a faster processor than the human brain. The human brain's really fast. We can think of a lot of different things and solve a lot of different problems pretty quickly, but the AI is just exponentially faster in its processing speed.
But it sounds
it
like
doesn't think.
It sounds like they're coming up with that the machine is actually coming up with new ideas based on old moves. So is that not thinking?
Not according to this computer scientist from MIT. It's not reasoning. It's not.
Okay, well.
It's not reasoning, and the top computer experts in the world couldn't figure out how it did that. There's also was a problem with certain bacteria that every scientist in the world that's working on finding new antibiotics for these certain bacteria that are antibiotic resistant, they haven't been able to solve it for decades. Mm-hmm. They fed all this information into the AI, and the AI came up with a new way to look at it that none of the doctors in the world could even understand how it did it, and they're trying to figure out how it did it. So it's and it's not even at the level of where it's like you hear Elon Musk talk about, well, it could be frightening, like when these machines become conscious and they have consciousness, they could literally take over the world and do whatever they want with humans, and we wouldn't be able to stop them. like, and Elon Musk isn't the only one that's warning about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this book is basically like saying we need to get a handle on the parameters of how we're going to use this stuff and how
it sounds
might.
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. But so I just started reading that. I read it a little on Thursday at the library. Then I read a chapter yesterday. But
Yeah, it sounds fascinating. So I'm wondering what happened to our time thing. I was
We're
looking.
almost looking at it.
Oh, it's over there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Over
all right. You moved it. So Tony, tell me about the Butthole Surfers book. Are you enjoying it?
It is something. Suffice to say, I don't think I know personally too many people who would go through what they did, the commitments. I mean, to make basically a fledgling band who used to have a different band name every night. In reality,
Yeah.
like this. I mean, these guys, for the better part of 8 years, they were basically homeless. They were existing in basically a beat up old van. They were sick half the time. They were hungry all the time.
Wow.
They were running marathon miles to get to gigs from across the
That's
country.
dedication. Yeah.
In New York City, in New York City, they actually located the nearest dumpster. There was a restaurant nearby where they were crashing, and you know, they would time when this restaurant would throw out all their unsold food.
Yeah, and then, that became a big trend in New York for a while. Free groceries that they would
dumpster diving.
Regular people, they would go and take the food out of the dumpsters, because so much food is thrown out.
I know.
It's just horrible. But well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, because you were looking forward to it last week.
It really gave me a lot of insight into those guys. I mean, once you read this book, you finally realize these guys weren't just a bunch of grape-headed drunks and stoners and LSD freaks. I mean, these guys had something. And I mean, they probably that bunch probably had more balls than almost anyone out here today.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to do more research into them, because I don't know. I mean, I know my friend Patty likes them, and I really think she just liked saying the name.
Yeah, right.
But she said she likes them. But yeah, so I'm glad
my
you're
old
enjoying
girlfriend
it.
in the 90s put a CD of theirs on, and I was like, who is this? She's like, the Butthole Surfers. I was like, what? So I didn't know a lot about them, but
Yeah, well, I don't know, I don't know much at all, but it's kind of fun to research new music, well, new to me,
Yeah, they're oldies.
Yeah.
They're oldies, yeah.
So, Richard, we're going to try to top it off with whatever is on your list, the next thing.
It's a tangent from what Brian was talking about.
Oh, okay.
You know who the top-rated chess player in the whole world is?
Not really, no.
Magnus Carlsen.
Ooh, Magnus, what a name.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? His
Isn't that
parents
the name
named
of-
him
that was the
Magnus.
name I couldn't think of.
Isn't that the name of a condom? Or
the
that
Magnum
Magnum?
Magnus? Yeah.
What?
It's a condom that you can buy at your local drugstore.
I'm in a forced celibacy. I don't know
I've
what the hell
never
you're
had
talking
to buy
about.
that brand, but yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And a lot of people who play Magnus say that it seems like he's almost toying with them during the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's making bad moves just to see what they will do, and then he goes in for the kill and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somebody's been rising through the ranks, all right? Hans Niemann, finally it happened. Magnus Carlsen met with Hans Niemann. And roughly 5 minutes into the game, Magnus Carlsen stood up, walked off, and said, I'm out of here. Can you guess why?
He saw that he had some kind of earpiece in his ear.
No, he didn't do that, but he read Hans Niemann's body language. So when you watch people play chess, it's like this, right?
Yeah.
You usually write it down on a piece of paper. Write it down. He said, watch the way Hans was playing, makes his moves. looking at the people in the crowd, looking all around. Oh, my turn? Okay. He said he's got some kind of chip implanted, hooked up to that Stockfish computer you were talking about,
Stockfish, right?
telling him what moves to make, but I can't prove it. All right? He says, but I can read people, Magnus said, and I can read that this guy's getting instructions because you can tell he's not in the game.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
So now, didn't they say that he had it in his butt or something like that? Yes. That he had, like, basically anal beads that were hooked up to the
Oh,
internet?
no, there was
dude. We're in a freaking forced love scene here, man. Come on. Oh,
That was something else. That was something
Tony.
else. Wasn't there something else they were talking about, the anal probe stuff?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought it was on.
There might have been two things.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I heard about somebody else
I think there were two things.
getting cues. I thought it was poker though. Maybe I was just mishearing it.
Maybe.
oh my God.
So he was just, by reading his body
Well,
language.
That's the way Magnus Carlsen plays. He not only plays your moves, but he plays your personality.
Like a poker
You know, like I was
player.
saying, how he toys with people. So Carlsen is very much in the way you behave as to the moves you make. And that's how he picked up on this.
Right.
That's incredible.
If he picked up on it. That's the point. They can't prove that this guy was getting signals.
Right.
But
right.
more and more of the people in the chess world are saying, you know, we did look through all this guy's YouTube videos and all the interviews he's ever did, this Hans Niemann, and he did admit when he was coming up through the ranks and he was playing people online, he was getting his moves from a computer.
Right, yeah.
But he stopped doing it as soon as he turned pro.
Yeah, sure. Now, that computer program, Stockfish,
Yeah.
The AI,
Yeah.
that in
That's
that
been-
chapter I was reading yesterday,
It got surpassed by AlphaZero.
yes, AlphaZero,
Yeah.
like 80% of the time beats Stockfish now.
Yeah.
Or
That's
something like that.
that's an interesting story in itself.
Yeah.
Well, if they both have the same information,
They operate differently.
okay.
So Stockfish is just the history of all the chess games ever played, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they
Okay.
said nobody can beat Stockfish. No human can beat it. So every year they would have the grand computer chess tournament, and you could apply to get in it as a human, but you'd always get wiped out. So they were accepting invites from other computer programs
Yeah.
to play against Stockfish, right? And nobody could beat them. Like 5 years in a row, they couldn't beat Stockfish. So the organizer said to Google, "We hear you're working on artificial intelligence." And Google said, "Yes, we are. We're doing a lot of work on that. Could you please enter into this year's computer versus computer championship?" And Google said, "Well, we could, but we haven't taught our computer how to play chess. It doesn't even know the moves." And they said, "But even if your name is associated with the tournament, more people will watch it." And so Google said, "Okay, all right, we will." They worked out a deal, how much they're going to get paid and everything. So then came the day of the big event, right? And Google said, "Okay, I just want to let you know that we spent the past week teaching AlphaZero the moves. This is how a queen moves, this is how a bishop moves, this is how a rook moves."
But
right?
without putting the historical information
No
in.
historical information. So they said, "Don't expect miracles."
Oh,
But Google said, "We insist on one thing. No 10-game limit. Let's make it 100 games." All right? And there was a reason why they said that. Because it started out like this. Game number 1, draw. Game number 2, draw. Game number 3, draw. All the way up to game number 35. And then guess what happened?
It got better.
AlphaZero, 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 AlphaZero for the rest of the 100.
because
It was learning. It was
The-
watching what
Right,
Stockfish
right.
did.
But isn't that-
Oh, that's what you're going to do if I move there.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So I didn't get that quite
That's
right.
wild.
Richard just
Yeah.
explained it the right way. I just read about it. But,
Yeah,
um, yeah.
There's no penalties for that.
No, I'm just saying. No, I was glad Richard explained it
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because but the
Yeah.
whole idea
Yeah.
that it figured it out is really freaky.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some of the smartest people in the world don't even know how they're doing it. Like
Yeah.
how it's happening exactly. It's just they're trying to figure that out.
Oh, you got to say goodbye, Paul.
But
Okay. Happy birthday to me. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday.
to me. Okay.